Welcome. It's 5 o'clock, and now I call the April 28th, 2020 regular school board meeting to order. Before I do anything else, let me call roll to make sure we know who is present on the virtual dais. I'm going to start with, if you all will unmute your microphones as I call your name. Ms. Long?
Here.
Ms. Kane? Ms. Kane? I'll come back to her. Dr. Carr? Okay. All righty. That's okay. Ms. Kane. Dr. Carr?
Here.
Mr. Dudley?
Here.
Ms. Flowers?
Here.
Ms. Lentino? Her hand is waved, indicating her attendance. And I am School Board Member Carol Cook. I'm here. Dr. Grego?
I'm here.
Dr. Corbett?
Here.
Mr. Herbick?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Kapersky?
Here.
And Ms. Simonetti?
Here.
We will also be doing roll call votes throughout the meeting so the votes can be recorded accurately. We all recognize the unique times that we find ourselves in, and our meeting has been adjusted to meet those circumstances. Although we're meeting virtually, we will attempt to keep our meeting procedures as consistent as possible. However, some changes are necessary. So before we proceed, I want to review the new virtual meeting procedures for everyone that's listening. First of all, we are all in separate locations, and all school board members, as well as Dr. Grego and other district staff who need to speak, will be able to comment as needed. As chairman, I will continue to lead the meeting, and we will work through our regular agenda in as normal a way as possible. Secondly, regarding public comment, we have posted our procedures for submitting public comment on our website, as well as published it in the newspaper. I'll share those procedures now for those who haven't seen it. Anyone wishing to submit a comment for any of the speaking opportunities under our policy may do so in one of two ways. You may send a comment in writing to the following email address: publiccomment@pcsb.org, as in Pinellas County School Board.org. Or you may call 727-588-6122 and orally provide the comment, which will be transcribed. All comments submitted prior to the start of the meeting have been sent to the board members and the superintendent prior to the meeting. For all comments submitted after the start of the meeting, but prior to the consideration of the relevant portion of the agenda, district staff will strive to immediately send them to the school board members and superintendent. All public comments timely received will be appended to the minutes, the meeting minutes. Lastly, I want to thank everyone for their interest in Pinellas County Schools and ask that you continue to support public education, not only during this period, but also when we overcome the challenges. We will continue to strive for 100% student success now and in the future. So with that, we will begin our published agenda. In lieu of an invocation this evening, we will hear words of inspiration from Area Superintendent Ms. Pat Wright.
Good evening, School Board Chair Cook, Board.
Good evening.
Dr. Grego, staff, and those who are listening. We are into our 5th week of virtual learning. I dare say we are all learning lessons along the way, whether we are age 3 or 93. The thing to remember is that we will get through this together. The new circumstance the world finds itself in is an ultimate equalizer, inasmuch as it is no respecter of persons. We all have shelter-in-place restrictions. We each have had to adjust to limitations on our movement and interaction with others. Many businesses, malls, fitness centers, and restaurants are closed, and others have had to adjust their hours and practices. Only activities and personnel which are considered to be essential have been given some needed leeway. We have transformed our dining areas and our living rooms into classrooms and workspaces. We will get through this together. Tune in on any device and listen to the news, commercials, advertisements for social media platforms, and you will see countless examples of communities banding together to make the best of a pandemic situation. People have not shrunk from undertaking whatever task they can to help one another as we make our way through this unprecedented time. Our school community has been no exception to this. Teachers continue to prepare lessons, going over and beyond to make sure that they are accessible and understandable. Our students have become lead workers in local supermarkets and in volunteerism, working on Saturdays and Sundays. In one of his recent updates to staff, our superintendent concluded his letter with the words, "We will work together with care and compassion to support our students and community through this difficult time." We long for the return of mundane days of waking up our sleeping children, getting them out of bed, getting them dressed, out the door, and rushing toward the school bus or carpool. They long for them too. We miss the noisy hallways, the banter between students, and even the fresh comebacks from students who try our patience and challenge our thinking. We are indeed learning. In this short and unexpected time period, we have learned to appreciate more than ever and value the interaction with each other. We have learned that there is strength in collective thought and in unity of purpose. And we have learned that if we hold fast, we will get through this together. Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Our students and teachers are embracing a new way of learning and are continuing many of the regular classroom traditions. This evening, we're going to recite the Pledge of Allegiance along with Juan Lopez, a second grade student from Cypress Woods Elementary School. A recording of the national anthem sung by the Pinellas County School choral faculty members at the 2019 All-County Choral Concert will follow the pledge. So please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance and national anthem.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Principal Hill of Cypress Woods Elementary, for sharing your students' enthusiastic pledge. And it's also very nice to hear the music teachers do the national anthem for us. We have a brief video this evening to share. So much has taken place in the last 6 weeks. device distribution, deep cleaning of schools, meal distribution, and of course, the transition to digital learning for other students and our teachers. So let's take a look at how Pinellas County Schools staff, students, and families have risen to the challenge.
It's a learning experience for all of us, for students, for teachers, for parents, but we're all growing. So continue to have that growth mindset. Don't give up. We believe in you. You believe in you. We are going to get through all of it together.
Good. It's truly remarkable to see how quickly people made the switch and what a nice job they're doing with the students. I think the t-shirt in the very beginning, attitude is everything, kind of says it all. And our attitudes have been very exciting to see what the teachers have done as they have jumped into it and been excited about the new way of work. I do want to point out that to those that are listening, there was a brief snippet of an orchestra music that was recorded during the first week of digital learning. 66 Largo High School student musicians recorded themselves individually at home, and then those recordings were mixed together by their band and orchestra director, Chris Benoit. And that produced the music that you heard. They were doing a little clip of their school's alma mater. This is just one example of the innovation and creativity that has been displayed by our teachers and students. The board members and I are just so very proud of our district as they embrace the challenge. At this time in the meeting, we traditionally invite students from each high school Students' Responsibilities Committee to visit the board meeting and give a presentation about their schools. Today, we're going to hear a recorded presentation from Cosmos Margaris and Jacqueline Seekles from Palm Harbor University High School.
Hello, my name is Jacqueline Suklis, and I currently attend Palm Harbor University High School in the university program. I also play for the girls' varsity flag football team. My college plans are currently undecided. I have been accepted to many schools, yet I am still waiting to hear from UCF, which is where I want to go to study business. I wanted to take this opportunity to highlight the many successful extracurricular programs at Palm Harbor University High School. The marching band earned straight superior ratings from the Florida Bandmasters Association Music Performance Assessment. The jazz band, concert band, and symphonic band all earned excellent ratings from the Florida Bandmasters Association Music Performance Assessment. All 16 student musicians earned superior ratings at the FBA Solo and Ensemble Assessment. For chorus, 3 students sang in the all-state choir and 5 students received superior and excellent ratings at Solo and Ensemble. There were also 2 students selected for honors recital. The ICHSA quarterfinals a cappella group placed second. In addition to the accomplishments listed above, there are many additional attributes about Palm Harbor, which makes it a pleasure to be enrolled there as a student. The first and most important of these attributes is how safe our school is, as well as how prepared we are for emergency situations. The administration has done a tremendous job preparing the student body for the unexpected so that we are all aligned. The next and equally important attribute is the knowledge, professionalism, and high achievement philosophy of the teachers and the administration. We are not just a student number at Palm Harbor, and our staff are more like our mentors and coaches, consistently pushing us to excel in reaching our goals. They genuinely care about the student body, and it shows on a daily basis. The third and final attribute is specific to the student body and our unity as such. Palm Harbor University High School students view each other as one big family, and we're always there for each other in times of need. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you all stay safe during this pandemic.
Hello, my name is Cosmos Marguerite. I currently attend Palm Harbor University High School, where I played for the varsity football team. I'm also part of the medical program, and I plan on attending FCCU in the fall. I'm here to discuss the highlights for my high school senior year. This year, our athletics division had many achievements, some of which include boys and girls swimming were PCAC champions, girls soccer were PCAC champions, our wrestling team were PCAC team district, and regional champions, girls golf were PCAC champions, and the boys were runner-up for PCAC. And finally, our volleyball team got runner-up for PCAC and runner-up for districts. Our robotics team also excelled by being reigning world champs. And our veteran team won the Pandora Award, the Gears of Fire Award, and the Boombots Award. Also, our new teams won some awards, which include the Violet Fusion Award and the Mechanical Genius Award. Our theater department has done a lot to make our school proud and had many accomplishments this year, which of them include the 2020 Walker's Raising Stars finalists, who were Brian Pays, Alexis Steffens, and Elena Treiser. Also for the Florida Theater Conference, we got a superior for the one-act play Up the Down Staircase. All-star cast, Jake Espo. For the district thespians, our students were district representatives responsible for the organization and implementation of the entire festival, which we won a superior for the one-act play Up the Down Staircase, and an additional 27 superiors to individual events. Also, a scholarship winner, Haley Groth. Lastly, our medical program goes above and beyond in preparing students for life after graduation. Every medical class has their own shadowing that corresponds with what they are trying to certify in. I'm currently taking the EMR course, so I got to shadow the fire station and got to see how emergency responders work and what they do in difficult situations, and how life would be as a firefighter. We also have a program-affiliated club called HOSA, which we excel in. During the HOSA conferences, we received first place in biomedical lab science, epidemiology, MRC, extemporaneous writing, creative problem solving, parliamentary procedure, and finally, healthcare issues. In conclusion, There are many things to celebrate at Palm Harbor University High School, and I'm proud to be representing for the school and to graduate next month with my high school degree. Thank you.
Good, thank you. We always appreciate the very informative presentations from our students of Palm Harbor University High School. And thank Principal Gonzalez and Area Superintendent Ward Kennedy for making the Students' Rights and Responsibilities presentation possible during our virtual meeting. Now we'll move on to the remainder of our agenda. Dr. Grego, are there any amendments to today's agenda?
We have one minor amendment to the agenda, Madam Chair, and that is consent agenda 7.15. We're altering one of the start times. As you know, board members, I want to thank you for your support of the movement of Pinellas Gulf Coast to Coachman. It's going to not only save us resources, but also bring several programs under one roof, the Teleschool, Hospital Homebound, and our EAS, or the Pinellas Gulf Coast, and recognize Bonnie Selinsky for her leadership there. So that time had to be altered. It has been adjusted in your online agenda. That's the only amendment to the agenda.
Okay, good. And I find good cause to amend the agenda as described by Dr. Grego. Board members, are there any items to be pulled from the consent? Dr. Carr?
Hello, yes, I'd like to pull that same item from the consent agenda for further discussion, 7.15, school start times.
All righty, very good. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, do we have a motion and a second to adopt the amended agenda? Ms. Long?
I motion to accept or adopt the agenda.
Okay, the amended agenda. Do we have a second?
A second.
All righty, Mr. Dudley. So we have Mrs. Long made the motion to adopt the amended agenda with Mr. Dudley seconding. All in favor? We're going to go through a roll call vote. So if you'll all just unmute your microphones, and we'll start with Ms. Long.
Yes.
Mrs. Kane?
Yes.
Dr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Dudley?
Yes.
Ms. Flowers?
Yes.
Ms. Lentino? Her hand is waved. And Carol Cook says yes. So it passes unanimously. The first and only item on our special agenda order is the presentation of the proclamation acknowledging the contributions of our teachers during Teacher Appreciation Week. Do we have a motion? Well, we'll wait. Dr. Grego, would you introduce this item, please?
Great pleasure. I'll introduce this item and also ask Paula Texel to be prepared to introduce the proclamation to the board. You know, as we were reviewing that videotape earlier in the meeting and listening to Ms. Wright's inspirational thoughts, you couldn't help but continue to come back to the meaningful impact that our teachers have in this community. And also, as many people are beginning to recognize the importance of public education as we work remotely, and the importance of teachers and from the day-to-day lives. As they say, absence makes the heart grow fonder, and I can tell you that students miss their teachers, teachers miss their students. And if there's ever a year that we need to stop and pause and take a breath and say how much and express how much we appreciate teachers, this is the year. We should be doing this every year, but this is certainly the year that we should express our gratitude. And we should have that gratitude amplified throughout this entire community. As you saw from the video, there's countless examples of our teachers going well above and beyond to ensure students continue to learn during this time. And I want to thank our PTAs, the community members, and everyone in Pinellas County to do whatever they could do to show their appreciation to our teachers during next week, but not only during next week. Yeah, I know that I've seen the yard signs and marquee messages and social media posts, electronic thank yous. Any and all of these are appreciated by teachers. And I would ask this community to rally together during this time to truly have a special week next week and to demonstrate, however small that demonstration might be, to say to teachers, We appreciate you. Job well done. And thank you for your service. And so with that, I'm going to call upon Ms. Texel to introduce the proclamation.
Thank you, Dr. Grego. Good evening, Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Grego and staff. I am truly honored to have the opportunity this evening to acknowledge the outstanding teachers we have in Pinellas County Schools as we get ready to recognize them next week during Teacher Appreciation Week. As you know, over the past 6 weeks, our teachers have gone above and beyond as we have transitioned to distance learning. They themselves have had to learn new ways of teaching in order to continue to provide the lessons our students need on a daily basis. They have done this with grace and compassion towards not only our students, but to their families as well. Although the events and recognitions that will be occurring across the district next week will most certainly look different than in years past, our administrators, our parents, our students, and our entire community want to take the time to say thank you to their teachers. And even with many of our local businesses conducting their day-to-day operations in a much different manner, many are still planning to find ways to thank our teachers by providing special offers for them. I couldn't be more proud or more honored to be working alongside the teachers of Pinellas County. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chairperson, Ms. Eileen Long, please read the proclamation for us.
Proclamation, Teacher Appreciation Week. Whereas teachers open children's mind to the magic of ideas, knowledge, and dreams. And whereas teachers keep American democracy alive by laying the foundation for good citizenship. And whereas teachers fill many roles as listeners, explorers, role models, motivators, and mentors. And whereas great teachers make great public schools. And whereas teachers continue to influence us long after our school days are only memories. Now, therefore, the school board of Pinellas County does hereby proclaim the week of May 4th through the 8th, 2020 as Teacher Appreciation Week, and Tuesday, May 5th, 2020 as Pinellas County's Teacher Appreciation Day. We urge that all observe this week by taking the time to recognize and acknowledge the impact teachers have on our lives. And Ms. Cook, may I personally say to teachers, as a retired former colleague of many of you, you all hold a very, very special place in my heart and my children's heart, and I can't thank each of you enough for all you do for Pinellas County Schools.
Thank you. And I think you speak for all of us when you say that, because we do deeply appreciate our teachers. So thank you, Mrs. Long. We have a motion and a second to adopt the proclamation acknowledging the contribution.
Mrs. Cook, I'm not sure we have a motion yet.
That's what I just asked for.
This is Renee. I would like to make a motion that we accept the proclamation as read.
Okay, and a second? Ms.
second.
Long? All right, we have Mrs. Long that seconded it. Okay, any other comments? All right, we have a motion and a second to adopt the proclamation acknowledging the contribution of our teachers during Teacher Appreciation Week. All in favor, unmute your microphones as I call your name. Say yes or no. Ms. Long?
Yes.
Ms. Kane?
Yes.
Dr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Dudley?
Yes.
Ms. Flowers?
Yes.
Ms. Lentino? Her hand is raised, indicating yes, and Carol Cook says yes. So it passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Now we move to the public comments portion of the agenda. Now we have received public comments for consent item 7.15, the opening and closing of school times. For non-consent item 8.3, the King Charter School application, and for the referendum, we've received an email via the methods outlined in our public notice. On the district's website, you will also see the explanation of the ways of contacting us should you have missed it at the beginning of the meeting. Those comments will be appended to the minutes of this meeting. We have no unfinished business, so we will move on to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Ms. Long?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
I second it.
All right. And we have a motion and a second for the consent agenda, and that includes all items except 7.15, just as a reminder. So all in favor? Unmute your mics as I go through again. Okay. Ms. Long,
Yes.
Ms. Carr,
Yes.
or Dr. Carr, Ms. Kane.
Yes.
I missed. And Mr. Dudley,
Yes.
Ms. Flowers,
Yes.
Ms. Lentino, yes, and Carol Cook, yes. All right, let's move to item 7.15. Do we have a motion for the school opening and closing times that was pulled from the non-consent?
I move approval.
Okay, and Eileen Long?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Dr. Carr, you pulled the item. Would you like to speak to it, please?
Yes, I just wanted to acknowledge that there has been a great deal of time spent on this. There was a task force that had been working with staff to address the concern of the early start time. And at a prior workshop, it was shared that there were some other potential options. Historically, initially, at least since I've been on the board, the prior year to this, the school start times, the presentation that was shared was that it was very clear that either we had to do this, that there was no other option because we didn't have an adequate number of bus drivers. However, since then, there's been a great deal of work and time put in. And despite that initial discovery, there were additional ways that were identified. And I was expecting that we would have made more progress in this area. We've acknowledged that it is better for our students to start at a later start time. And we were trying to find feasible ways to meet the needs of our students. And I would like to hear a little bit more from staff on the progress being made and where we are with that, because I was really expecting we would be a little bit further along.
Dr. Grego?
Yeah, Madam Chair and school board members, that just for the information of the public and the board, that working committee is still hard at work, and they're engaged in alternative solutions to trying to move the start time. As Mr. Herbeck is leading that committee, also with Dr. Corbett, we were successful to move the 7:05 to 7:25, which still we want to and have a desire to move it even later. But we are also assembling a good number of folks that are outside of our, within our school community to see as we move into more of a communications stage. So that committee really set up a structure that is moving methodically through this, so we just don't make a change for the sake of change. But I'm going to ask Mr. Herbeck to give the board an update, and certainly if it's the board's desire or pleasure, we could certainly put this on a workshop during the summer, hopefully when we can be in front of each other, but if need be, remotely. So Mr. Herbeck, if you're available.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Grego. And Dr. Carr is correct. We have talked about different options, both in our task force and our committee, and at board workshops that we have quite a bit of hope that can work for us. But I believe it was about a year ago at one of the workshops, we did talk about some of the barriers that we were encountering, but also shared at that time as well at that workshop that we were hoping to bring a long-term solution to aligning start times with sleep research. And we set 2021-2022 school year as our goal to try to deliver that. So we're still, even though that, we would obviously like to have been able to achieve those start times and aligning them with sleep research sooner, we're still, I believe, on goal to hopefully deliver something by that 21-22 school year. Right now, we are in talks with a consultant from MIT who has worked with the Boston Public Schools. Boston's very similar to us with very basically a complicated and robust safety system that they've set up. And but this consultant through MIT, they have some promising software that we think may be able to identify some routing options for us that we haven't been able to identify up to now. Our task force is still meeting. We're reviewing options. We're getting to the point now that we're also talking about the impacts that those options may have on teachers, on students and staff members, and the community as a whole. We've created a document that I believe we are ready to share that shows our progress and our next steps, and that document will be available to the public. We're in the last review of that document at this time. And right now, what we're also working on, and it's kind of, if you can find a silver lining in this all coronavirus work from home environment, it's the fact that we've shared with you before that our routing department in a normal school day, when school is in session, spends most of their time dealing with those last minute route changes that occur due to the driver shortage or a sick driver or a breakdown or something like that. Without those day-to-day responsibilities, our routing department has actually been able to accelerate their work in this area. They're finishing the routes for next year right now. We're trying to work and anticipating what this return to school might look like in the fall and working on different transportation options for that. But one of the things that they're doing is they are able to start devoting much more time toward this idea that we shared with you at the workshop about the floating bell schedules. And they've been working on that and are finding some solutions. Some other areas of the county, like we kind of expressed, might be difficult to solve easily, but we are making progress in that area. And again, that's going much quicker than it would be if we were in school right now. So we do understand the concerns of the community. We understand the concerns of our students, our parents, and everybody involved with this, that we'd like to move quicker than we are. But I guess to sum up, we still are on schedule for that 21-22 target. And especially with this time that we have available to us now, I'm confident that we'll be able to find some type of solution by that time. And that's all I have.
All righty, thank you. Is there anyone else that has any comments? I was talking to one of the community members that is on that committee just by happenstance today, and I asked what was happening with this particular committee. And her comment was, we're all working really hard and we really all want to do it, but this is so complicated. And I agree that it might have even been an understatement. So I am glad to hear that we're still looking at the 2021 school year, though, as moving forward with this. Dr. Carr?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just still have concerns about it, especially in lieu of the fact that the routing team has had this opportunity to work on it. And with all due respect to the routing team and the complexities of what they're facing, I think it's going to be really important that we have a very clear, effective, and efficient process, especially in light of the current situation, because it could be, we have to be much more nimble in developing routing options. So I hope that we are able to focus on clearly defining and refining our process for adjusting routing situations. And I still find concern with the later school start time not taking place yet. So thank you, and that concludes my comments.
Okay. So we do have a motion and a second to approve the school opening and closing times for 2020, 2021, and authorize the superintendent to make additional changes as required by statute or factors affecting the length of the instructional day. And we will now do our vote. If everyone would unmute their microphones, please. And Mrs. Long,
Yes.
Mrs. Kane,
Yes.
Dr. Carr,
No.
Mr. Dudley,
Yes.
Ms. Flowers,
Yes.
Ms. Lentino. Her hand is raised indicating yes, and I vote yes. Carol Cook. All right. We now will go to our non-consent item 8.1. Recommend adoption of the resolution containing ballot question necessary to continue the 1/2 mil ad valorem tax for necessary operation purposes, and authorize the superintendent to forward the resolution to the supervisor of elections for inclusion on the November 3rd, 2020 general election ballot. Do we have a motion? Ms. Long?
I motion to accept.
Okay, thank you. And do we have a second? Ms. Flowers?
I second that motion.
Perfect. Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Dr. Grego?
Yes, Madam Chair and School Board, I couldn't be more excited, extremely excited to bring this resolution to the board to address the necessary operational purposes of this ad valorem tax that this community has embraced for 16 years now. And it's we're looking to put it on the ballot, as Mrs. Cook mentioned, November 3rd of 2020 in the general election to help support our teachers' salaries, to help support the technology. A lot of the technology that we're using with our devices in remote learning and the assistance to provide and purchase additional reading materials. And then that is which is very visible, the arts program, both performing and visual arts. And with that, I'd ask Mr. Kevin Hendrick and David Kapersky to explain that to the general public. And as I know, board members, we workshopped this last week with great discussion, and thank you for your support of that. So I think I'm calling on Mr. Hendrick first.
Yes, Dr. Grego. Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Grego and staff. It's my pleasure as the Associate Superintendent for Teaching and Learning to share with you a little bit about the referendum as well as share that information with the public. As you know, and Dr. Grego mentioned, Pinellas County voters have supported this referendum 4 times since 2004, in part because an independent committee, the Independent Citizen Referendum Oversight Committee, or ICROC, meets quarterly to oversee the distribution of funds and ensure that the money is spent as voters intend. In November 2016, the Pinellas County Schools referendum won 76% of the vote as part of this effort to make sure of transparency and accountability for our school district. The referendum helps recruit and retain high-quality teachers. Each teacher's salary is supplemented by $4,724 this school year as part of their base salary through the referendum. That's 80% of the collection each year. 20% goes to support students and teachers through resources in classrooms. This includes classroom libraries, additional supplies, reading programs, technology, and as Dr. Grego said, both our visual and performing arts. And now more than ever, the support of the referendum has been felt as our digital learning department has taken the lead in implementing digital instruction. The department is funded in part through the referendum, and the fact that we have additional technology, a single sign-on through clever and knowledgeable trainers has made this transition much smoother for all of us. And as we are finalizing plans for renewal for the referendum, I want to express our gratitude and support to the board for your willingness to support this and to the public for their overwhelming support over these last 16 years. So I'd like to pass it to Mr. Kapersky, who will talk specifically about the ballot language.
Thank you, Mr. Hendrick. Madam Board and board members, Dr. Grego, this is David Kapersky, the school board attorney. Just very briefly from my procedural and legal perspective, we have created the ballot title and ballot question that are located on the resolution. They meet the requirements of the statute with respect to length and substance. And then the procedure at this point would be, if this passes with the school board vote this evening, I will work with Dr. Grego to send it to the county administrator and the county attorney, with whom I have been working with all along here, in order to have it placed on the agenda of an upcoming Board of County Commissions meeting. We do have some time since we're going to the November 3rd general election. The county just needs to act by the beginning of August, but certainly earlier is better. And so I will work with them, assuming passage this evening, to try and get it on potentially a May agenda. So if you have any questions regarding the language, I'd be happy to answer those. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Flowers, would you please read the resolution?
Yes, ma'am. The resolution, a resolution directing the Pinellas County Commissioners to place a measure on the ballot for the November 3rd, 2020 general election ballot for the electors within the school district to vote on the approval of the continuation of 1/2 meal ad valorem tax for 4 years pursuant to section 1011.732 Florida statute. Whereas section 1011.732 Florida statutes authorizes the school board pursuant to a resolution adopted at a regular meeting to direct the county commissioners to call an election at which the electors within the school district may approve an ad valorem tax millage as authorized under section 1011.719 Florida statutes. And whereas section 1011.719 Florida statutes authorizes a school district to levy by local referendum or in a general election additional millage for school operational purposes up to an amount that, when combined with the non-voted millage levied, said section does not exceed the 10 mil limit established in section 0.9b, Article 7 of the state constitution. And whereas the school board has determined that it is in the best interest of the school district to submit to the voters the question of approving the continuation of the 1/2 meal ad valorem tax for 4 years for necessary operating expenses. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the School Board of Pinellas County, Florida, in regular session, duly assembled this 28th day of April 2020, that the Board of County Commissioners of Pinellas County, Florida, is hereby directed to call an election in conjunction with the general election of November 3rd, 2020, at which the electors within the school district may vote on the approval of continuation of the 1/2 meal ad valorem tax for 4 years as authorized under section 1011.719 Florida statutes.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Flowers. Is there any discussion for board members? All right. We have a motion and a second on the floor to adopt the resolution containing ballot question necessary to continue the 1/2 mil ad valorem tax for necessary operating purposes and authorize the superintendent to forward the resolution to the supervisor of elections for inclusion on the November 3rd, 2020 general election ballot. If board members would unmute their microphones for the vote. Ms. Long?
Yes.
Ms. Kane?
Yes.
Dr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Dudley?
Yes.
Ms. Flowers?
Yes.
Ms. Lentino is indicating with the hand raised, yes. And Mrs. Cook, yes. It passes unanimously. Thank you very much. We move to 8.2, request approval for a 15-year high-performing charter modification for Discovery Academy of Science Charter School. We have a motion? Do we have a motion? Anybody? Okay, Ms. Long?
I motion to accept.
And we have a second. Dr. Carr? Dr. Carr?
Second.
Okay, good.
Second.
Ready. So we have a motion and a second. Dr. Grego?
Madam Chair and school board members, let me call upon Lori Matway and also Rick Wolf, who head up our charter school as well as other departments, to address the request for a 15-year high-performing charter modification for Discovery Academy. Lori?
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Grego, and staff. Please allow me to present the request to approve a 15-year high-performing charter modification for Discovery Academy of Science Charter School. The board approved the original contract in 2011. The school received high-performing status in 2017, therefore qualifying for this modification. I will now turn it over to Rick Wolf, Director of Charter and Home Education, to provide additional details.
Good evening. Thank you, Ms. Matway. This request is for a 15-year high-performing charter modification for Discovery Academy of Science. As Ms. Matway stated, the school received its approval in 2011 for a K-12 charter school. The school currently operates a K-8 charter school serving 500 students in the Dunedin area on 2 campuses. The school received its high-performing charter status from the Florida Department of Education in 2017. A high-performing charter school is a school that received a grade of an A for at least 2 years and no grade below a B during each of its previous 3 years, and does not receive any concerns on their financial audit for the past 3 years. A result of receiving the high-performing status, the school can request this modification to their contract at any time, and also would receive the 2% administrative fee as opposed to the usual 5% administrative fee. Discovery Academy has been receiving this 2% fee since receiving its high-performing status in 2017. Therefore, there is no financial impact to the district for this request.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Matway and Mr. Wolf. Board members, are there any questions or discussion? Mr. Dudley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. How many, since they're expanding from 9 to 12, how many students is that going to affect?
They are currently not expanding the high school. The high school they are looking at expanding would be in 2022. So they are staying a K-8 school for the next 2 years.
Do we have any idea how many students that's going to impact?
It would be for whatever classrooms they project, which I believe they are talking about 2 classrooms per each grade level. They would be adding 1 grade each year, each consecutive year.
And again, what's a classroom? How many are we talking about?
So we're talking 24 students for a high school classroom.
24. So, and what kind of impact is that going to have on, Dunedin High School, East Lake, and all those schools up there? They're going to be losing those units?
Well, charter schools serve students throughout the entire school district. So it certainly will probably most likely impact the immediate area more so than outlying areas, but students do attend charter schools from all around the district.
Well, I understand that. I do understand that, but I guess I'm asking, we're taking kids from the regular public high school, putting them into the charter school. That has an impact on personnel in the regular public schools. And I'm wondering how much of an impact are we going to lose? 5 teachers, 3 teachers?
Mr. Dudley, if I can just jump in here.
Sure.
Normally in a charter school, remember they're already a K-8. So these are students that are already in existence in their school. They're just going to rotate up So it should have very minimal effect on any of the surrounding schools. They're adding 1 to 2 classes, which is a very small percentage. And again, these are students that have probably been with them from kindergarten through 8th grade.
Okay. Well, that's fine. I'm just, I'm all for it. As far as I want the least amount of impact. We have very good science teachers and in our public schools, and I it's good. It's good. I'm just curious. So we're looking at we won't be doing anything for what, about 3 years, 2 years.
Yes.
Okay. All righty. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion or questions? All right, seeing none. We have a motion and a second to approve the 5-year high-performing charter modification for Discovery Academy of Science Charter School. If board members would unmute their microphones. Ms. Long?
Yes.
Ms. Kane?
Yes.
Dr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Dudley?
Yes.
Ms. Flowers?
Yes.
Ms. Lentino? Hand is raised indicating yes, and Ms. Cook says yes. So it also passes unanimously. Our next item is to request denial of a charter application for King Charter School. Do we have a motion?
I move approval of the denial for King Charter School.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Dr. Grego?
Madam Chair and school board members, this is the 3rd application from King Charter that has been submitted, and I want to start out by saying thank you to all staff that have taken the time to really very closely look at all of the details. We owe it to you, our board, to ensure that if we vote yes or you vote yes to a opening of a charter school, that the students are going to be well served and so forth. So we do, we ask input from teaching and learning, the budget office, English language learners, the ESE department. Every single department is engaged with this. So I just want you to know that a lot goes into this review, and also I wanted to take the time to thank those people, because it's typically, if not always, above and beyond what they do every day. So with that, I want to call again on Lori Matway and Rick Wolf to present this request to deny the charter application for King Charter School.
And thank you, Dr. Grego, and thank you for sharing the time invested by many different individuals in our district. And again, it is above and beyond their work duty, but they take it very seriously, and we appreciate their time. Board members, on the 21st of April, we presented at the board workshop and shared the thorough review process. We also presented the Florida Charter School Application Evaluation Instrument that we had completed for King Charter application. Again, this is the same Florida Charter School Application Evaluation Instrument that we use for every application, as well as throughout the state of Florida for our other surrounding districts. The mission of King Charter School is to bring the best of public education to the Pinellas community by providing a trilingual education in an eco-friendly atmosphere so that each child recognizes the benefits of global sustainability. We appreciate their mission and their passion to open a school in our community. However, we have a duty to ensure that the school is viable, not only in the delivery of content, but financially as well. As mentioned during the workshop, charter school staff, along with the content and standard area experts, reviewed each section of the charter application, which is specifically applied to their area of expertise. This process takes weeks of staff time, but all understand the importance of investing the time on the front end rather than the back. I would like to share with the board and our listening audience a short history of charter schools in Pinellas County, which highlights the importance of the application review process. Pinellas County Schools currently has 18 charter schools. 11 of those schools are A-rated, 9 of which are high performing. 2 are B-rated and 2 are C. We also have 2 that work with students that are at risk, considered dropout prevention schools.
You want to ask a question?
One has a commendable rating and the other has a maintaining rating. We also have a school that the board approved in 2018, which has not received a school grade at this point, but is expected to be 8 rated. Pinellas County charter schools are held to a very high standard. That same standard we hold all our public schools. However, if this is not the case, we will work with the charter school board to close the underperforming school. And we have done that. In the past 5 years, we had to close 5 charter schools, 4 of which for financial mismanagement and 1 for poor performance. This process can take years and the well-being of our students is at stake. Next, I will turn this podium over to Rick Wolf, my virtual podium, to provide an overview of our review findings. Mr. Wolf?
Thank you, Ms. Matway. Good evening again. The third submission of the King Charter School application is for the same school that was applied for in the first 2 applications. This would be a K-5 charter school starting with approximately 100 students. And as Ms. Matway mentioned, the school would provide a trilingual education and an eco-friendly atmosphere. Although a location is not required in the application when submitted, the applicant team is looking at a school somewhere in the Pinellas Park vicinity. Staff did review the 22 standards, a thorough and rigorous review of all the standards, and the results of the review by staff were 0 of the sections met the standard, 8 were a partially meets, and 11 do not meet the standard, and there were 3 that are not rated. A capacity interview was conducted with the governing board, the charter school's governing board team on April 8th, and their responses are included in the evaluation instrument. A couple of items, a couple of issues that I would like to point out. It is the responsibility of the charter school applicant team to demonstrate the capacity to open and maintain a high quality charter school. This is the language from the Florida Department of Education. The reason for the district having such a rigorous and thorough evaluation process is exactly what Ms. Matway mentioned earlier. We want to be very thorough on the front end of an application. We want to make sure that the charter schools in Pinellas County meet this high quality standard. As Ms. Matway said, we have 18 charter schools in Pinellas County. 50% of those charter schools have received a high performing status from the Florida Department of Education. None of the charter schools have received a grade lower than a C. We did have the charter schools that have closed, and we realized what a tremendous burden that is on a family and how traumatic that is to have students and families involved in a school that is closing. So we want to avoid that at all possible costs. The evaluation instrument that you have in your packet addresses very specific comments, even identifying specific page numbers in the application. So the district staff looks at criteria that is spelled out in the evaluation instrument by the Florida Board of Education. This criteria that we look at for each of the 22 sections has terms like a clear description, a clear and coherent explanation, a comprehensive and compelling plan, a viable plan, a sound plan, realistic and reasonable, and provide evidence. So as district staff worked through this application from the King Charter School team, juxtaposed to those criteria, we found those results that were just that I just reported to you. You also had letters that we received letters mentioning the school's plant-based nutrition program. When the application has submitted their application to the district, we review all aspects of their school. One of the sections, section 18, is their food service plan. In their application, they do not mention whatsoever anything about a plant-based program. So the application did state that the school would follow the state's free and reduced lunch program. So The plant-based nutritional program has nothing to do with the denial of this application. The past applications, the first one that was submitted to the district in February 2019, application received 3 meets the standard, 11 does not meet the standard. The second application submitted in December 2019 resulted in 1 meets the standard and 12 does not meet the standard. This current application resulted in 0 meets the standard and 11 does not meet the standards. Reasons for you see some of the decrease in the meets the standards was when the application was submitted, additional information was included. Some of the information that was submitted in this current application was an example of 2 charter schools in Pinellas County, which was used as providing examples of different language programs that were taught by these 2 charter schools. They do not teach the two languages that were presented in the application. And these 2 charter schools, it was also mentioned that they charge tuition. Charter schools are public schools and they cannot and do not charge tuition. In addition, their staffing plan in the more recent applications provided more detail and additional staff, which was not identified in the budget section. So there were budget implications in adding more staff. They also included language about providing middle school courses along with EOC exams. And this is an application for a K-5 school. This was presented in all 3 of those applications and identified by district staff as incorrect information, but it still is in this current application. In addition, they also identify allowable preferences for students to attend the charter school. However, they omitted providing the one preference for students of military staff, military personnel, and this was identified in all 3 of the applications, yet this has not been corrected. So the application, along with many other, these are just a few of the examples of incorrect information that is submitted in the current application. So we have other staff members that are going to provide more detail, but this is just an overview, and the details are in that evaluation instrument that is provided for you. As you will see, there are there's very specific language to the actual points that are related to the criteria in the evaluation instrument. At this point, Amy Hayes is going to elaborate a little bit more on some of the educational issues that are of concern to district staff.
Thank you and good evening. As has been mentioned, many people review an entire charter application, and for sections 3 and 4, which are program design and the curriculum plan, this includes staff members from the charter school office, student services staff, teaching and learning, a reading specialist, the assistant school board attorney, and the world language specialist. As an authorizer, our job is to review charter applications based on the state prescribed criteria, and the criteria for sections 3 and 4 require that the application contains a clear and coherent plan for teaching and learning, a daily schedule that complies with statutory requirements for instructional minutes, a clear and coherent framework for teaching that aligns with the school's mission, which in this case is a trilingual immersion program, an emphasis on reading instruction, and a program design and curriculum plan that will increase student performance. The King application does not contain a clear and coherent program design or curriculum plan. No specific curriculum is outlined to describe the plan, and no resources or materials are mentioned to support the trilingual immersion program or core academics, and no evidence is included in the application to support an emphasis on reading instruction. For example, student schedules listed in the application do not meet the state required instructional minutes of uninterrupted ELA instructional time at most grade levels. The application form asks the applicant to provide evidence that reading is a primary focus of the school and that there is a research-based curriculum and a set of strategies for students who are reading at grade level or higher, and independently, a curriculum and strategy for students reading below grade level. The applicant's response to this section begins with the following statement, quote, King Charter will develop standards-based curriculum for the core subjects of English language arts, mathematics, science, and social studies using the course descriptions adopted by the State Board of Education and available on CPOMS. A committee will be appointed to review and select instructional materials, end quote. This and the one-page attachment D does not provide sufficient detail to determine if an appropriate curriculum will be provided. Sections 3 and 4 of the application contain disjointed narrative, inconsistent and conflicting information, which affects the ability to determine the overall program design, curriculum plan, staff makeup, and the instructional framework for the school. The application did not meet the state required criteria for these two sections, as no clear and coherent plan for teaching and learning was provided, nor a coherent framework given that aligns with the school's mission. Evidence was not provided demonstrating that reading is a primary focus, nor were strategies outlined for students at grade level or higher, or for students performing below grade level, or for those students with disabilities, which Heather Wallace will address at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Sections 6 and 7 of the application were both rated as does not meet the standard. Those sections deal with students with disabilities, gifted students, and our English language learner students. Those sections were reviewed by staff from the district level ESE department, from the gifted department, and also from the English language learner department, as well as the charter school staff and myself. We found that those sections did not demonstrate an understanding of the laws and regulations regarding students with disabilities, gifted students, and English language learners. There was not a clear plan for serving those students. The application in these sections contains several statements that are incorrect. They refer to incorrect standards, outdated standards, standards that are not applicable in the state of Florida. There was a great deal of confusion within the application between the requirements for ESE students and the requirements for Section 504 students. The applicant did make a representation during their capacity interview that they understand the differences between ESE and 504 because this confusion has been pointed out in previous reviews of the application. However, in reviewing the actual language in the application, it's clear that there is a great deal of confusion, and when referring to 504 plans, the sections that are referenced are actually sections that you would find in an IEP, etc. So based on the review of those sections from several staff members, we felt that those sections did not meet the standards required by the application evaluation instrument. And now Mr. Smith, I believe, is going to address the budget issues within the application.
Yes, good evening. We reviewed sections 20 and 21, which is the budget and financial management. And in the budget section, section 20, there were many inconsistencies with the budget. There was revenue estimates that were utilizing loans and pro bono services as sources of revenue. There was some underestimated expenses in their startup year, leaving to question whether they had adequate cash for their startup year initially. Also, it was really quite difficult to discern whether their expenditures were accurate, given the fact that their staffing models were inconsistent. The staffing models presented within the application did not match the budget. There were inconsistent numbers utilized throughout the budget. In fact, many numbers didn't add up. When you actually added up the actual numbers within certain schedules, the totals weren't correct. For example, the cash flow ending balance did not match the budget ending balances. If you looked at a couple of the budgets, a couple of the years, if you added up the first year, it showed a $1 million revenue number at the bottom line, but actually it was $700,000, almost $300,000. So there's a lot of inconsistencies, a lot of inaccuracies within the budget itself. They indicated that they're going to provide food service and transportation, yet there was nothing in the budget that showed that they were going to do that. So it left significant doubt as to whether the school would be financially viable. In fact, in my opinion, it would not be financially viable. Also, under the financial management aspect of it, there was no clear description of financial management practices. There was no clear outline of internal control or for financial reporting and oversight and responsibility. So overall, the application from a financial standpoint was very weak, and the underlying numbers did not support financial viability. I'll turn it back to you, Ms. Matway.
And thank you, Mr. Smith. And board members, again, this is a brief review of the thorough instrument that you have in front of you. But at this time, we would like to recommend the denial of the King Charter School application.
Thank you, Ms. Matway, Mr. Wolf, Ms. Haynes, Ms. Wallace, and Mr. Smith for the presentation. Board members, is there any questions or is there any discussion? Okay, seeing no hands indicating such. We do have a motion and a second for the denial of the charter application for King Charter School. If you would unmute your microphones, we will do our vote. Ms. Long?
Yes, I agree with the denial.
Ms. Kane?
Yes.
Dr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Dudley, I believe you're able to do us on the phone.
Can you hear me?
I can now, yes.
Yes, I deny, right.
Okay, so you're voting
to
in
deny
favor of the motion to deny.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, all righty, thank you. Ms. Flowers?
Yes.
And Ms. Lentino, I believe, had to leave. And so I also vote yes as Carol Cook. So this particular motion passes with a 6-0. We now move on to items introduced by the superintendent.
Yes, Madam Chair and school board members, first of all, I want to thank you again, as I did the first time we had our board meetings remote. Just thank you and praise you for the job that you're doing, not only during the meetings, but in between the meetings. And also a point of reflection is that this meeting this evening was originally scheduled as we did for Tarpon Springs High School. If you remember, we had two meetings that this board wanted to take on the road, so to speak. And the first one we were able to conduct at Lakewood High School, extremely successful. And we took a tour of that school. And this one this evening, the Tarpon Springs Spongers, were excited to greet you and the rest of our staff to Tarpon Springs to show off their facility. So I would ask that this board, and perhaps there's a time in the future that we do conduct a tour of Tarpon Springs. But I'd like to start my remarks by just allowing Mr. Herbeck to maybe bring you a little bit more, as we're in this virtual age, a little bit more of maybe how things are going. And as we close that project out at Tarpon Springs, very proud of the work and the aggressive timeline that we've had at Tarpon. So, Mr. Herbeck?
Thank you, Dr. Grego, and thank you, board members. I always look forward to this chance to share the update on these projects with you. So first of all, though, I want to thank you as a board for approving our first bond issue that helped construct our projects at Pinellas Park Middle School, Melrose Elementary School, and Jacobson Technical High School. Those funds from the bond allowed us to direct our traditional funding for projects at Lakewood High School, Cypress Woods Elementary, Orange Grove Elementary, and Tarpon Springs High School. Before we started the project at Tarpon, the campus, it experienced flooding, it had outdated classrooms and common spaces, and it really lacked a connection across the campus. I routinely, when I was a principal there, saw every single day as part of a daily routine, students, especially in the performing arts, had to move equipment from one room, clear across campus to another room, just so they would have adequate space to hold classes inside. And as you can imagine, that movement resulted in a loss of instructional time. So the vision that we had at Tarpon was really to create a connected and unified campus for that school. And to do that, we created a courtyard and a mall area that promotes student collaboration and a better movement around campus. And thank you, Ms. Herendeen has a picture of that new mall area up on the screen right now. We remodeled the gymnasium and lobby. We provided additional security features at the front of the school. We created a dedicated choral space where the chorus program, highly successful program, used to have to kind of juggle between two classrooms. we were able to create one dedicated space for them so they could do all of their activities. And again, there's a picture of the chorus room right there. They could do all of their activities in one space instead of having to move from one to another. We created band rooms that were large enough to hold an entire ensemble, whereas previously the school had to schedule classes in a way around the band, and the band wasn't ever able to really be together at one time because of the size of the band and the small classrooms. We also dedicated space for the color guard and turned a used parking or an unused parking lot into a joint use space for PE and band. And I believe that was one of the previous pictures that you saw there with the green artificial turf there. And then one of the last things we did is we renovated the auditorium and connected the art rooms. The art rooms used to be in two different buildings, and we were able to move them into one building with a connection between the two. What we were really able to do was to unify the programs and bring a connection to the school. And when I talk to teachers and talk to administration and people up there now, they report that the project truly transformed the campus. And so again, I'd like to thank you, the board, and your efforts in making that vision a reality. Thank you to Rick Rowe Architects and to J.E. Dunn as well. And especially a big thanks to the Tarpon Springs teachers, the staff, the administration, and the students and the whole community for the sacrifices they made during construction. It's not always easy, but I think that the results were well worth it.
Thank you, Mr. Herbeck, and thank you again. I share my thanks also to this board and to the Tarpon Springs faculty and staff. So we will try to plan a makeup date or to visit Tarpon Springs. Board members, I know I've been keeping you up to date with the board updates on a daily basis, and you know our food distribution is going extremely well. We went to a 1 day a week, where last week we served over 86,000 meals to over 7,200 students. That demand is going up, and I want to thank and recognize Lynn Geis for all that she's doing, because we're serving some meals that are able to be heated, and hot meals are far more at this point attractive, and I want to thank Lynn and all of the food service workers. We're still the device distribution is slowing down tremendously, which says to us that we're reaching that capacity which we need to reach. We're also looking and maintaining our 5 regional sites to distribute those, any last ones that we need to, and also what's turning into very effective repair sites. If someone's having a problem, they know where to go, and they can do a tech ticket where they can actually schedule a repair time to meet people there. I want to thank the Teaching and Learning Division. They've done a tremendous job and continue to think of new ways to connect our parents and teachers together. We're trying something new. Mr. Hendrick has talked to staff and others about trying to establish the last week in May. You know, that last week in May is the last week of school. It's always a little bit where we want to have student enrichment, but we're going to create it into a teacher-parent conference week, where our teachers, different types of conferences for high school, middle school, and elementary school, but we're going to take a look at that, and especially will give us an opportunity to discuss with parents what those plans might be for the summer, not knowing exactly at this time what our plans will be for the summer, because they look more and more virtual as time goes on. So we'll be having the opportunity to conduct teacher, parent, student conferences. And I'm excited about that. I think it's really an innovative approach to our digital learning to make a stop and say, let's have some digital conferences. I want to thank our Human Resources Department. We had our second Transformation Zone virtual hiring fair that took place last Saturday. Hiring will continue, not only in the Transformation Zone, but throughout our school district now. Open hires starts this week, and also we're planning our June hiring fair. It's still going to exist in the beginning of June. We're also finalizing our summer professional development catalog, and that's being finished. You know, board members, we talked a lot about the transition into digital learning, and if you think about the operations of schools in the summer, we also had to transition into digital staff development, where we perhaps cannot meet in large groups. Now we have to conduct that differently, and we're not going to slow down on this. And that whole, all of the instructional coaches have been working tirelessly to ensure that this summer is still going to be an extremely meaningful summer. I want to thank the board, and as you know, that survey went out on our graduation. We received over 7,000 responses, just under 7,500 responses. I provided the survey results for you in yesterday's board update, and I received a lot of thanks from mainly our parents, and saying thank you for asking us and reaching out to us. As you see, the majority do wish for us to postpone, and that we thought that we kind of knew that's what was going to happen, but they appreciate the question. The graduation for in-person traditional, they want us to postpone it, as you saw in those survey results. And the second one is, if we have to, let's try to get something on our school grounds, even if it's meaning that we have to limit the number of admissions tickets to family and friends. As you know, the Governor DeSantis had a reopening Florida task force. I served as the representative superintendent on that task force over the last week to 2 weeks. The commissioner gave out with a review response last Friday. The Superintendents Association worked over the weekend. I want to thank key members of our staff who also worked with me over the weekend. I shared with you the FADS, what was called the FADS K through 12 Return to School Recommendation Guidelines. I would encourage you to take a look at those. I want to thank our staff because they really were tremendous input into the recommendations to the commissioner, to the governor, and to the Department of Health. On the local level, I'm beginning to meet with some of our key individuals in the health professional department. Dr. Cho from the Department of Health. I've reached out to Dr. Messina, who's the chair of the Division of Infectious Disease at Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital. I have two doctors, Dr. Christina Kennedy and also Dr. Robert Kopek, who is both from Baycare, pediatrician infectious disease, along with our own Sarah O'Toole and our own leadership with Mr. Herbeck, Dr. Corbett, myself, and some others, to begin to talk about on a local level what that looks like. And let me remind the board, as you read the FADS report, that our statement is to establish a statewide condition for returns on schools, so there's not 67 different plans. But however, with that in Pinellas County, I would like a local flavor in terms of what we could do above and beyond, and what we could do to ensure the safety, no matter what that looks like in coming back. I think we were all resolved to the fact that that return is going to be slow, not fast, and it's going to be very, very thoughtful, and not a knee-jerk reaction to those things. But in the same FADS report that you see, it also charges local districts to establish a local guidelines for what that looks like. And so in our discussions tomorrow and next week with these various esteemed doctors, it's going to be the day in the life of an elementary school student, a day in the life of a middle and high school. And how can we further create a safe plan as we wait for future further recommendations? So in no way, shape, or form are we going out and doing something independently, but rather we're waiting and very cautiously for clearance. And this is going to take time, but we want to be ahead of that curve in Pinellas County. We want to ensure that we tap the professionals who really are most knowledgeable, and we want to build that trust and confidence with our community. So I, as a superintendent, will continue to promote going slow and going safe, and being very meaningful and purposeful in our actions as we take a look at that. I was on an interview this morning with Channel 10, and that was a question, and Superintendent Addison Davis and I were saying, so what do you think? And that's $1 million question. The question of when is one question that we'll leave to the health professions, but the question of how also we need to lean on the health professions too. So a lot of these task forces are taking place throughout our community. And I know that St. Petersburg has one, and Mrs. Flowers, I saw you were named on that reopening task force too for the city of St. Pete. So I guess congratulations on that and good work. And I'm it's good to have somebody from the school board that's also communicating with city government and county. So the other thing I'd like to turn my attention to, and our collective attention to, as the end of the year, there's always so many awards, and we go to so many different recognitions, and I miss them, and I know you do too, but I don't think we should ever slow down talking about them or stating them. And especially something that we even talked about earlier about the referendum and the National Scholastic Arts Award. 12 Pinellas County students earned prestigious National Scholastic Arts and Writing Awards, including 4 gold medalists. And this award is the nation's longest running and most prestigious recognition. We certainly will send you all of their names and their schools, and congratulations to all of the students, the visual arts teachers and their schools for this fantastic accomplishment. Likewise, at the end of the year, students are receiving scholarships and invites to go off to major universities and jobs in the military in so many different ways. It's such an exciting period of time, and we need to keep it. We need to keep that excitement going. 5 district seniors were awarded the Questbridge National College Match Scholarships. 5 been awarded this scholarships will provide a full 4-year scholarship funding to some of the nation's top colleges. Out of 14,929 applicants, Questbridge selected 5,842 finalists. And of these finalists, only 1,127 students were selected nationwide. That nationwide, 1,100 students, and we have 5 of them. That, if you think about it, with all of the thousands and thousands of school districts in the country, it's somewhat disproportionate, but I'm extremely proud of it. If you attended one of those, I think you recognize the name of Clearwater High's Destiny Turner, who will be going to Princeton University. She spoke at the College and Career Center opening. But along with her, Countryside High School, Alandra Santa Maria is going to Grinnell College, and at Palm Harbor University, Vanessa Sidor going to Brown University, and also from Palm Harbor University, Julie Rakowski going to Northwest University, and from St. Petersburg High School, Ariel Noah going to Rice University. Congratulations to their families, to them, their families, and for the tremendous accomplishment. The Tarpon Springs High School senior is the semifinalist for the national award. You have met this young man too, Alexander Theranopoulos, senior and valedictorian at the Tarpon Springs High School, has been selected as a semifinalist for the 2020 U.S. Presidential Scholars Program. He's one of only 620 semifinalists selected in this country of over 5,000 candidates. And so we're extremely proud to bring all of these top performing candidates to you. And I hope that if there's ever a way, I'm trying my hardest to continue to return emails and to do things digitally, to just say thanks and congratulations to so many of these students. Also, over the last week or two, as we were going remote, I was notified from the NAMM, which is the National Music Educators Foundation. They announced and designated Pinellas County Schools as one of the 2020 best communities for music education. You would think this is a commercial for the referendum, but the designation is awarded to districts that demonstrate an outstanding commitment to providing music access and education to all students. And only 6 districts in the state of Florida were recognized for this honor. And I want to thank Jeannie Reynolds, Jonathan Ogle for their leadership, because it takes leadership at the district level, and also all of the performing and visual arts teachers as we honor our teachers next week. And to say a huge thank you for putting our district into a national picture of being recognized for music education. Music and arts, both education. On an athletic front, and I am so proud, as our principals are too. I was getting text over the weekend that as the football draft is alive and well, there may not be there's not many sports playing, but Pinellas County Schools has several signings through the draft and free agency. Justin Stiernod of Eastlake High School, who went through Wake Forest, is now joining the Denver Broncos. Mitch Wilcox from Tarpon Springs High School went through USF, is now a member of the Cincinnati Bengals. George Campbell from Eastlake High School went through FSU, is now and also West Virginia, and is now a New York Jet. And Brandon Walton, who went through Seminole High School through Florida, graduated from Seminole High School, and then went through Florida Atlantic, is now a Buffalo Bill. Board members, Pinellas County is well represented in the NFL. And talk about some of the events in the latter part of the year. Decision Day 2020 is May 1. That's this Friday. It's the National Decision Days, and we're going to celebrate with our students. And we reached out to our seniors, asking them to share their plans. The district will begin sharing. You'll see it on our social media this Friday. We're going to celebrate anyone and every one of our seniors who put in what their plans are for Decision Day, National Decision Day, May 1st. So please look for that. And keep your eye on our Facebook account, Twitter, and Instagram. And I'll close my comments the way I think started this meeting, and that is to say thank you to each and every one of our teachers. I know these are difficult times, but also times where the community, your students, and the families of your students look to us and look to you as a teacher as kind of a grounding point. And I want to just say personally, as your superintendent, thank you for what you do every day. That concludes my comments, Mrs. Cook.
Thank you for sharing so many of the things that are going on in the district. Items introduced by the school board attorney, Mr. Kapersky.
I have no report tonight. Thank you, ma'am.
All righty, thank you. And items introduced by board members. If you have one, please raise your hand. Ms. Long.
Yes, I have a couple things. First of all, for all of you that have moms 65 years or older, you've heard me talk about the organization A Mother's Arm. It's for young moms who are struggling. They are working with Eli's Barbecue on Main Street. And if you go to Facebook or their webpage, they are going to give 50 meals to moms over the age of 65 years. So maybe your grandma, your mom. This is a great place to eat dinner, and I'm sure your mom will enjoy it. The second thing is I met with Esme Rodriguez of Equality Florida. I had about an hour-long meeting with her. And I have to say, I am very impressed with the things that they are doing to help our young community. And Dr. Corbett, I would like to request that she come to a workshop and present some of the things that I didn't know we are doing with our students here in the county, and kind of give us an overview of some of the things that are happening with this organization in the state, in Pinellas County. And to all the teachers, again, thank you. I hope that this finds everyone out there well. I know this is a difficult time, but we live in a wonderful community, and just watching the news, listening to the things that are happening in our district, we do know how to come together, and we are a strong community. So God bless you all.
Thank you. Dr. Carr?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I wanted to thank the board for their patience and work during workshop. Some discussion about the survey, and when looking at the survey results with over, I think there were 7,000, and most of them came from students, right? 4,000 were from our seniors, or folks who identified as seniors. So thank you for listening to my concerns, but it was nice to see the seniors get someplace to talk. I know they had done petitions, but at least they had the survey. So thank you for that. And thank you, Mrs. Cook, for your coordination of the continued training for us with FSBA, and to Chair or School Board Member Flowers for your representation on the mayor's task force. Really appreciate you being a part of that, and you represent us so well. And thank you, Dr. Grego, for participating in so many community presentations and discussions, helping the community become aware of the status of things in the schools. And also kudos to the district and the leadership of the district for assembling an advisory team that includes medical professionals. I really appreciate that, and I'm grateful as a school board member, a community member, and as a parent that we utilize medical experts to help us determine the best steps forward in a medical pandemic. So thank you very much. And lastly, thank you to our teachers and families who are navigating this. I know most of us working parents oftentimes feel like, I'd love to spend more time with my children. And now here we have it. And it's an interesting situation to be in. And I really am grateful, particularly to those teachers at St. Pete High, helping me navigate senior year this way, and the great social media that they've put forward, recognizing and identifying seniors, and to all our high schools who have been really coming up with creative ways to recognize our seniors. So thank you very much. And that concludes my update.
Good, thank you. Ms. Kane.
Hi, thank you so much, Madam Chair. I also want to thank community and staff for all of the hard work and effort they have been putting in throughout this very interesting time. I just wanted to make the board and also our community aware. I was actually one of my neighbors came over right before this board meeting to inform me that there is now going around on Facebook a new Facebook group. It's called Adopt a Senior 2020 Pinellas County. And it's just a really nice way for seniors are sharing, senior pictures, posting accomplishments throughout this year. And it's called Adopt a Senior. So community members can go on there and adopt a senior and send them just a little congratulatory something, just to let them know how much the community is supporting them and is proud of their accomplishments they've done. And I know there's a lot of seniors around posting those signs up that are just kind of sitting home, maybe a little bit bummed about everything going virtual right now, but it's just kind of a way to cheer them up and also be really proud of our community and all that they're sharing. So I just wanted to share that for anyone who might be interested and who would want to support some of our seniors at home. Otherwise, thank you all so much.
Good, thank you. And Ms. Flowers?
Thank you, Madam Chair. School Board Member Kane, thank you so much for sharing the Adopt a Senior. I saw that on Facebook and I adopted a senior that I didn't know, and then I adopted one that I do know. Their parents work for Pinellas County Schools. So thank you for bringing that up because I think it is so special. Thank you all also for acknowledging the appointment by Mayor Rick Kreisman of me to his advisory committee. We had our first meeting on Monday, and it really was an opportunity for the 17 of us to get together and know who we are and what our backgrounds are. And there are 2 physicians that are on the advisory group. One is an epidemiologist and the other does research. So I'm really glad that they're on because they were able to shed some light on some of the medical components that some of us probably heard but didn't quite understand what they meant. So I'm grateful for that. And I will stay in touch with Dr. Grego so that whenever we're communicating, that I'm always communicating the position of Pinellas County Schools when it comes to opening. I'm sure everyone probably heard or saw by now that the county had two separate votes on today. One was to open beaches effective the 1st of June, and the other was to open pools at condominiums. So I'm sure we'll probably, even though those weren't our decisions, people still tend to contact whoever they can about, their feelings one way or the other. I know I've already gotten a lot of texts and emails, and I'm sure some of you may receive some as well. But there was no discussion as it relates to opening of additional businesses and things of that nature. Having said that, I do want to thank Dr. Grego for his leadership on his advisory boards as well, because we have seen where Pinellas County Schools has been the leader in a number of areas, and I would hope that anything that we're communicating, that we also will be acknowledged as a leader, just looking out for the best interests of our students and their families, because we want everybody to come back and have a really good year next year. And so I hope that we are prudent and cautious as we move through all of this. I participated in the food giveaway on last Saturday at Pinellas Technical College, the St. Pete campus. And there will be another one this coming Saturday if anyone is interested or able to come out and volunteer. I counted, because I did the check-in, 550 cars. In some of those cars, there were 2 or more families. So I know we certainly service more than that. It was in partnership with the Raven House, and it was distributing meats, fruits and vegetables, and then canned goods, staple goods. So a lot of the people that came through that line Saturday, they were seniors. Someone drove them there. So I was really excited about that, and I'm looking forward to supporting PTC again this Saturday. It starts at 11, but people start lining up at about 10:30. So that's been really good. And also, the Feeding Tampa Bay will continue only through the month of April, every Saturday in April, at the Tropicana Field parking lot number 4. And so those have been really, really good, well attended, and helping individuals out with food there as well. So I'm grateful for that in the community. And they've had those in other places too, in the St. Pete Beach area, North County, Lellman, at the Dream Center. So they're not just occurring in St. Pete, they're all over the county. And lastly, I just want to say thank you to all of the staff. I received very few phone calls about team and all of that. So we knew it would probably take some time just getting all of that together. But I only received 2 phone calls from individuals stating their student was having concerns, and we were able to work through that. So super kudos out to the IT department who've been fielding the calls. This morning, my grandson had a face-to-face call with his teacher, Miss Smiley, in his classroom. So they all got to see her face and see each other, and they were all so excited. And I know a number of other teachers have implemented that as well, so that they can really connect with their students, not just by sending them work, but by seeing their faces as well. So super kudos to staff for all that you guys are doing. And thank you, Dr. Grego, and to the leadership team as well, for also just continuing to encourage staff while you're also conducting virtual interviews to try to close positions that we'll have for next year, and keep all the wheels turning, and doing them remotely. So hats off, super kudos to all of you in those in your respective places. And Carol, if we do have a moment, I do have my positive thought to end the day, if we can do that today.
All righty, we will do that right before we adjourn. All right, are there any other comments? All right, there are only so many ways that we can say thank you. And it seems like each one of us has had that opportunity to say thank you for what the teachers are doing and what staff is doing, and how everybody is moving forward. This is probably one of the busiest times of the year, because you're wrapping up one year and starting the next. And in addition to that, people are having to look at an entire entirely different way of doing their jobs and doing the business of the district. So on top of that, we're looking at what if we have to do it this way? What if we have to do it that way? What if we have to do summer bridge virtually? What if we're able to do it face to face? So we're actually doing double duty for all of the various things that are being planned. And I don't think there's any way that we can let people know just how hard our staff and our teachers are working right now. I think they see how hard their children are working right now in order to make this work. But our words cannot express just how deeply we appreciate everything that is being done. And I not only do we appreciate it now, but we'll make a special effort to appreciate it during that week of Teacher Appreciation Week. So thank you to everybody that has done any type of job in this district right now, because there is not a single person that's not working hard. And we do appreciate it. And that is what part of what makes Pinellas County so strong. So thank you. We do appreciate it. And we want everybody to know that. I see no other indications of board reports or items introduced by the board. So before we go to the board request, Ms. Long, we normally have that process of 4 people agreeing before we put a workshop item on. So how about if we have you and Dr. Grego talk a little more specifically about what you are requesting as far as a workshop topic, and then we can go forward. Does that work for you?
Yes, it does.
All righty. Thank you very much. And Dr. Corbett, do we have any other board requests?
No, Madam Chair, I have no board requests tonight.
Okay, thank you. So before we move to our school board meeting evaluation, please remember, as long as we are doing virtual meetings, all public comment will be received via email or phone as outlined in the public notice. It can also be found on the website. And we appreciate the comments that we're receiving, and we'll encourage you to continue to correspond with us that way. So we'll now move to our school board meeting evaluation. And we're going to look at, the technology, the logistics of the meeting. How is it going? Are there ways that we can make it better? Are there any comments from board members as to what went well and what might be able to be improved upon? Apparently
This is Renee. I just have a question.
Okay.
Well, maybe, why is it that we have to have our expulsions in 2 separate links? Is there any reason why we just didn't have expulsions come up for 4:15 and, run back to back, and then scoot on off? Because even with Zoom, a person can enter or join a group at any time. It doesn't have to be a specific time. So I was just wondering if there was a reason why we had to do that.
Hey, Mr. Kapersky, can you answer that? Or
I will take a shot at it, and that was my recommendation, Ms. Flowers, just because if we have a parent attending, they have a link to access that, and if that parent were to stay on or something like that, they might have access to other students' confidential information. So
good point. I didn't even think about that.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't had my second cup of coffee, and it's 6:54. So very good point. Say no more. I get it. So yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. Mr. Dudley.
There. Okay. No, I just wanted to, my comment was that during the meeting, during Mr. Wolf's presentation, the latter part of it, my computer just went, it just popped up and said I was no longer in the meeting, and I didn't know what to do. So I lost, there was a little period of time there, and I called Faraday, and we, she I was on, I could hear what was going on, and I was going to have to do my verbal vote, but vote, and I went back and rebooted the computer and all, and then it finally got back on. But I don't know what's going on. My wife has been on, so it wasn't on our end because our Wi-Fi was working, and I just, you know, it's just kind of one of those technical glitches, I guess. So from time to time, I think those things may happen. They're little gremlins, I guess, that are here. But anyway, so I just wanted to explain that I lost you there for a bit, and then I reestablished my contact with you. But overall, I thought the meeting goes very well. I mean, it doesn't get any better. You know, under the circumstances, we're doing fine. So, and Ms. Cook, thank you for your leadership. You're doing a great job with this, and I appreciate you know, the effort that goes into it. I know it's difficult, so thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Anything else? All right. I think it's going very smoothly. You know, I have to pay a little more attention to to details and making sure I'm mic'd and unmic'd and those types of things. But I think it's going very well. So I think, okay, Dr. Grego.
I too agree. It's going very well. Also, just before we leave, I know that I believe the governor has announced a press conference tomorrow. So I think the results of some of the work that we've done is going to be announced tomorrow. So I have no idea what time it is. I was just getting some emails from colleagues to the superintendent. So just for your information. So we'll inform the board as quickly as we can. You'll probably hear as quick as I do too. So.
Good. Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Ms. Flowers, is your hand raised for the closing thought or another comment?
No, I didn't hear it, but perhaps some of you read Mr. Jack Fletcher, who's one of our volunteers over at Melrose. I wasn't sure if I heard Dr. Grego acknowledge it or not, but he was selected on the statewide level for the Volunteer of the Year award. So just want to acknowledge again his wonderful work. He's a gentle giant, former fire department person with the city of St. Pete, and now volunteer. And so again, you know, normally we recognize individuals at our meetings, but of course we can't do that in person. But I just wanted to share that if others did not see it, read it, or hear about it.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Flowers.
Okay. Anything else about the meeting evaluation? All right. Seeing none, we will go to the closing thought. Ms. Flowers?
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you so very much. And this closing thought is for, it falls right in line with what we're talking about. It says, whenever you find yourself doubting how far you can go, just remember how far you have come. Remember that everything you have faced, all the battles you have won, and all the fears that you have overcome are not for naught. And that's from an unknown author.
Very good. Very pertinent. All right. Well, if there is no objection, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for being here.